Print on demand is changing and 99% of people have no idea what's coming. Recently, I've been noticing these tiny shifts in the print on demand market that most sellers aren't even recognizing. But when you zoom out, you see that these small changes are starting to reveal massive opportunities that simply weren't possible before. If you don't know who I am, my name is Meg Heckman, and I've been selling print on demand for the past 5 years. And over those years, I have seen a lot of trends come and go. But what I'm seeing right now is different. This is the first time that I've truly looked at the market and said, this changes everything. So in this video, I'm breaking down the 3 biggest shifts that I'm tracking and how you can take advantage of them before the rest of the market catches on. So let's dive into the first shift that I am seeing in the market, and that is Etsy's title changes. Now, if you haven't realized it yet, Etsy has started this new push for shorter titles. They now advise sellers to keep their product titles under 15 words. This is opposite of what everybody on Etsy has been doing over the past, probably at least 2 years. I'm not an Etsy seller, so I'm not quite sure. But when I go on to Etsy and I'm doing research, I am seeing titles that are so long. They have their tags and keywords within their titles so that it's increasing their chance of Etsy's algorithm pushing their listing out to people. But Etsy is changing. They want clear, concise titles with fewer subjective phrases. They want AI-friendly, essentially ad optimized listings. Now, this isn't about helping you with SEO anymore. This is about Etsy adjusting its entire marketplace to perform better on Facebook ads. Now, how exactly do I know that this is for an advertisement push? Well, after Q2, Etsy published their financial reports that they have to release out to the public because they are a publicly traded company. So it has to inform their shareholders how they are doing overall as a company. And in those Q2 reports, Etsy shared that it's going to shift a lot of their marketing focus from making TV advertisements into more direct-to-consumer marketing, which is like Facebook and Instagram ads, etc. Essentially advertising to somebody, they click on the product and then go directly to Etsy. This allows them to track their metrics and get a better idea of who their overall shopper actually is. Now, Etsy making this shift with titles is all about optimizing for those ads. And I'll show you an example of what I mean by an ad that has Etsy's really long SEO enhanced titles versus a simplified title that looks really nice on an ad. Now, here's an example of Etsy's really long SEO enhanced title. As you can see, it kind of is overcrowding this ad. You're not quite sure even what this person is trying to sell because the title is just a bunch of keywords mashed together. Versus this ad here has been simplified and would probably perform a lot better in a Facebook ad. Now, these long keyword stuffed titles may still help you within the search function on Etsy, but they will essentially crush your performance in offsite ads, and Etsy knows that. Now, this just shows that Etsy is keeping its word with what they shared in that Q2 shareholders report. But here is where I see things getting interesting. Shopify sellers have been using these short ad optimized titles for years. In fact, when somebody comes into my community and they were a previous Etsy seller, I get a lot of questions about, do my titles need to be SEO optimized? What is the best way for the algorithm to show people more of my listings? And Shopify just doesn't work that way. So what Etsy is now essentially doing here, it isn't innovation, it's simply imitation off of what other brands, specifically Shopify brands, are doing to market and advertise their goods. They are taking the best practices from brand builders and they are pulling them back into this marketplace model. And for Etsy sellers, this should be a huge wake-up call. If Etsy is designing your listings to be more like Shopify listings, then maybe it is time to make the switch and build your own store. Now, before we go into shift number 2, I just want to take a moment and say I completely understand why Shopify has been on the lower end of trends over the past few years. Shopify seems to have a larger learning curve when it comes to selling print on demand. There's a little bit more of the setup in the beginning stages, which can turn a lot of print on demand sellers away. But I wanted to do something to help with this. If you click the link in the description below, I will send you an invite to my free school community. There, you will be able to gain access to our free Shopify theme. This is going to speed up and take out a lot of the upfront work that goes into starting a Shopify print-on-demand store. So if that's something that interests you, just click the link in the description below. I'll send it right to your inbox. But enough about that. Let's get into the second market shift that I'm seeing, and that has to do with Etsy's offsite ads, because this is where things are about to get really interesting. Etsy is going all in on Facebook and Instagram ads. It's why they're asking you to shorten up your titles, and that means that your listings are now being pulled directly into dynamic product catalogs, even if you've never touched Facebook ads yourself. Essentially, it's pulling in all of your listings into Facebook for Etsy to then market your listings on Facebook and Instagram, basically out to millions and millions of people. But here's the catch. If your product's photography or your mock-up is not scroll stopping, then your listing is simply not going to convert. If your mockups look really generic and simply like the next person's, a lot of people on Facebook are just going to scroll right by it and they're not going to purchase. Now, sellers who are using custom mockups and clean branding are going to start seeing these significant jumps in ad conversions through Etsy's offsite ads, even though Etsy is the one who's running the ads for you. Now, this shift also means that you need to stop thinking like a marketplace seller and more like a brand owner, because the ads that are going to work best don't feel like listings. They're the ones that feel like products from real brands. Now, you know who's great at that is Shopify sellers, because they have had to be good at that in order to get traffic to their site. Now, Shopify forces you to level up your marketing, and now Etsy is unintentionally going to end up doing the same thing. If you're somebody who's been on Etsy for a while, and let's say you're searching t-shirts, you're going to notice a lot of the same mock-ups are popping up when you were scrolling on Etsy. But having been a Shopify seller for 5 years, I know that that is not enough to stand out on Facebook. I believe that it's going to be the sellers that start to adopt that Shopify-like mockup, that they are going to be the ones who stand out when it comes to Etsy offsite ads. I'm also not going to be shocked if Etsy starts pushing people to do offsite ads more often, because I think a lot of sellers opt out of that, thinking that they don't need it. But those who kind of make those Shopify-like changes, I think are going to see a drastic change in where their traffic or their buyers are truly coming from, whether that's the Etsy algorithm or Facebook ads. Now, this also gets you thinking about Etsy's offsite ad fee. Now, it's not free to go and list your items there, but Etsy essentially wants to turn their entire marketplace into a way for them to market the Etsy brand. So they're going to want more people putting their shops for offsite ads so they can get more people to the platform and shopping. But something that will be interesting to see is if this fee actually increases over time, because Etsy has to pay for the ads somehow. And essentially, it's going to come from your pocket. Now, this leads us into our third biggest marketplace shift. And that is, I think Etsy is going to end up forcing people into a Shopify era. At the moment, we'll see how things kind of shake out, but Etsy's kind of slowly making these changes. And I don't think it's necessarily shaking the Etsy sellers, because Etsy has done these small little changes and tweaks in the past. But something that I don't think Etsy sellers have ever realized is that they don't need Etsy to be successful. And all of these changes, especially with the offsite ads, when people start gaining traction with that, I think they're going to realize that they need to jump ship, because they're going to realize you don't need Etsy as much as you think you do. Now, here's exactly what I mean by this. Shopify sellers keep more of their margin. Essentially, we pay our own fees. We pay for our own marketing. Essentially, Etsy's marketplace fees are going to drive people out of the marketplace, because they're going to realize I've already changed my titles. I've changed my mockups to match a fully branded Shopify store. Really, what else do I have to do? I just simply have to make the Shopify theme, because they're going to realize that they want full control over their email lists, over their customers, how much they are paying to get people actually onto their store. They're going to realize they can retarget customers who had visited their store and bought or didn't buy. And they're going to realize that those offsite ad fees are going to add up. Now, something that Etsy isn't going to give you is how much they are actually paying for your particular ad. Let's say you have a design that's really popping off. It's gaining a lot of traction on Offsite Ads. Chances are your ad is very cheap driving that traffic, but Etsy's still going to give you that 15 to 12% offsite ad fee, which to me is just crazy. That is complete control that you are just leaving to the hands of Etsy. And now Etsy is realizing these same things that Shopify owners have already realized. They're starting to invest in email marketing so they can reach out to customers. They've realized the importance of keeping a conversation with people and feeling like that small mom and pop shop type of brand that they started as. Now, let me tell you, they are not a mom and pop shop brand anymore. They are a multi-million-dollar company. But this is something that they are doing to connect with those customers that have come to Etsy and purchased. Now, they're also starting to clean up their listing for ads. They're doing the work that Shopify sellers have already been doing from day one. So why let Etsy do it for you and take a cut when you could just be doing this whole process yourself? Now, this makes Shopify stand out because it's no longer just a doable option. It's going to be the smarter option that's putting more margin in your pocket. It's going to give you more tools, more control, and more opportunity. Now, all of these changes are paving this brand new path for sellers to take full ownership of their business. And that leads me to something that hasn't changed over the years with print on demand, and that is who you partner with. And it's why I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Printify. Over the past 5 years, I have researched every single competitor to Printify in the print-on-demand space, and no one has been able to give me the pricing or the control that Printify does. With Printify, I choose who's printing and shipping my products. I can make sure that the quality meets my standards and that the shipping timelines are crystal clear. And when it comes to margins, Printify is unmatched. Period. Margins are everything to me and my business. And if your cost of goods is too high, you're simply just leaving money on the table. So I can't recommend Printify enough just for the margin piece alone. So if you want to get started with Printify, just click the link in the description below and use the code WeScale to get 1 month of Printify Premium completely for free. Now you know the 3 biggest shifts that I am seeing in the print-on-demand market right now. Now, what you do with this information is completely up to you. But here's what I believe. Shopify print on demand is the future. The sellers who lean into that are going to be the ones who find the biggest opportunities. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. It would absolutely mean the world to me. And if you're interested in grabbing that free Shopify theme, just click the link in the description below and I'll send an invite to my free school community right to your inbox. Other than that, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.